I'm in public. You pushed me in the street, you dumb. You pushed me there, dumb. No. I can't
being executed.
What are you touching me? What the?
Get back up.
You pushed me in the road.
I'm
recording. I can't record
I'm recording too.
Yeah, you're a tyrant. Suck my dick.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
It's happening to all of us and may well happen to one of us one day, or one of your family members, somebody that you love. They could find themselves in a cage being abused not only by the inmates, but also by the prison guards, having done nothing wrong.
In the year 2002, I was no-knock raided by the Chief of Police, Michael Moore, of LAPD with an entire SWAT team, twice in the same month. Since that date, I began studying the history of America and constitutional law. I am an autodidactic constitutional law scholar. Over the past couple years, what I've done is I've been able to devise a system, understanding that the police have created a very rigid set of policies, procedures, and protocols that they use to arrest you. I've also created a very rigid set of policies, procedures, and protocols for you to follow that gives you back the power when you're forced to interact with these jackboot thug pigs. It has become a tyrannical jackboot thug police state, prison state, death state. I will win the governorship and I will change the policies from the top down.
All right, welcome back to the Delete Laws channel. What laws are we trying to delete? Every law that is unjust. I'm going to give you a scripture verse, and it's from Ecclesiastes 8:11, and the reason I cite it is because it's true, and I don't care where the truth is found. An evil work is not executed speedily, therefore the heart of the sons of men is fully set in them to do evil. Is it an evil work to stand on your rights? Is it an evil work to expose evil? He's in prison for the next 10 days. With 20 days suspended and 1 year unsupervised probation, and this is why. Let's go ahead and play.
Hey guys, if you're watching this, I have lost my freedom and I'm locked up in jail, all for free speech. I am asking you all for some help. Please share this video and get the word out. It's been 2 years since the tyrants in Waterloo, Iowa arrested me. This all started after I was driving back to my house, fresh from auditing. I was driving on my block and I had noticed a bunch of undercover police and pickup trucks right behind me. I had no idea what was in store for me. There was around 15 cops at my neighbor's house, armed to the teeth, and they had my neighbor surrounded. Confused as to why this was happening, I see these officers handcuffing my neighbor. He kept asking why they were arresting him, and none of the officers answered. He resisted the cuffs, and they threw him to the ground, tased him multiple times, and kneeled on his neck and rubbed his head on the concrete.
I hope it's all on video, bro. I hope it's all on video. This is crazy.
He's telling him he has to leave.
Make sure you send that video to my father.
I got it. Just come see me.
Oh, by the way, you are performing a public service anytime you get your video camera out and record what the police are doing to your fellow Americans. You are the one protecting and serving against the people who are supposed to be protecting and serving. So who protects us from the protectors and servants who are harming us? Well, it's you with a video camera.
I'm not on. This is public. Don't be a punk.
Noticing that I was recording this very rough arrest, one of the tyrants yelled at me to get off the property. I never once went on the property, mind you. Now we meet one of the biggest oath-breaking tyrants in all of Iowa, Lieutenant Michael Gersh.
You're a witness to all this.
No, I'm not.
I gotta get you.
I don't answer questions.
Oh, okay, then go.
He doesn't like that I was documenting this rough arrest and tries getting me away so I cannot record it any longer. I tell him off, as the arrest was well over 50 feet away and I was on public property the whole time. I don't take corrupt, unlawful demands lightly, and Lieutenant Michelle Gersh was so ego-filled and offended that I made fun of his pimple on his chin. Cool pimple you got on your face. Ended that I made fun of it. This is public. Don't. What are you doing
for this property?
He turned around and started shoving me away into an active roadway.
Name and badge number now.
Lieutenant Gersh, G3716.
You don't know who you're with, boy.
Obviously not.
There's a search warrant being executed here, so you don't have the right to be here.
I'm in public. You pushed me in the street, you dumb. You pushed me there, dumb.
Go to your house.
No.
Okay.
Ah.
There's a search
I
warrant
can't.
being executed.
Why
on
are
this
you
crap.
touching
No.
me? What the?
Imagine a man giving a directive to another man who's not doing anything wrong. He's out in public, just like everybody is free to be, not allowed. We got to stay away from some of this terminology. Hey, I'm allowed to be on the public sidewalk. I'm allowed to be recording at a public library. No, you're not allowed. You're free. If you say that you're allowed to do something, then you're saying that there's a master over you granting you permission. And I understand it's almost like semantics, but it's very important to define words and use the right words. If we're going to live free, we need to use some pretty exact language that doesn't rope us back into slavery.
Okay.
Ah.
There's a search
I
warrant
can't.
being executed.
Why
on
are
this
you
crap.
touching
No.
me? What the?
Get
What are
the
you
property
doing?
and get out of
What are you doing, you dumb? I
over
can't
there.
videotape.
Right here.
This is my property. Don't
Right.
touch me.
This is your property.
Don't touch me.
Back up.
You pushed me in the road.
I'm not gonna tell you
recording.
again.
I can't
Good. I'm
record it.
recording too.
Now, I don't like talking about this, but I think it's needed. I'm a 100% disabled combat veteran with PTSD alone. When another man puts hands on me for no reason, I get quite mad, as would anybody else. I can control myself from physically fighting back, but instead of my lighthearted comedic approach I normally use, I voiced my anger via free speech and hurled insults at Lieutenant Michael Gersh. I then walked across the street to where a group of people were and continued filming the arrest. I stayed out of the scene, even though there was many family members in the active scene walking back and forth.
They wrestled him down on the ground and scraped his face.
Oh, I was watching.
They scraped his face.
As you notice, I was the furthest away compared to the many others watching this. I noticed a group of officers standing inside the fence, doing nothing but talking with each other. And you could tell that they hated my free speech and wanted to find a way to arrest me. That's when we meet this tyrant, Sergeant Greg Erie. Greg Erie was very upset with my free speech, saying that I can't swear. He had enough and decided to solicit a disorderly conduct charge and asked everyone around me if my speech offended them.
What do you want?
You can stand out here and talk.
I can talk all I want. First Amendment right.
Okay? You
Oh, I can't swear.
Are you ladies offended by his?
Everyone said they weren't offended and my speech was just fine. So I said,
Check that out. He tried to solicit he wanted to get some nanoparticle of ground that he could stand on so he could lay his hands on Flex legally. And he was trying to go to the community members. Hey, is this language offensive to you? Because if it is, hey, I can remove him for disorderly. And every one of them said, no, chill out, dude. Ain't nothing wrong here. That was the testimony of Flex's peers, while the tyrant who's supposed to be protecting and serving is trying to solicit some evil act that Flex was doing so he could put him in cuffs. It's evil. It's just downright evil.
as many cuss words as possible to his face, and these famous words were said.
Yeah, you're a tyrant. Suck my dick.
Okay,
Hey.
that's it.
Yeah, arrest me, huh? Disorderly.
I was arrested for bruising his ego and hurting his feelings. They knew that the disorderly conduct charge held zero weight. So instead, they charged me with interference with official acts. They threw me in a freezing cold cell, no blanket, mat, or food. 12 hours later, I had some friends who watched my live stream drive all the way up from Illinois to bail me out. Now things get a lot more corrupt. At first, I got a public pretender, which was this woman. In talking with her, she stated that I would be found guilty because I cussed at the cops. Thinking to myself, wow, how is this failure an attorney? She didn't want to represent me, and I had gotten another public pretender. This time he agreed with me that I didn't commit any crime, and it was obvious I was arrested for my speech. During this time before court, after waiting over 10 years, I had finally received my back pay from the VA. So I went out attorney hunting. Let me just say that finding an attorney in Iowa is almost impossible. But I convinced one of the best attorneys to represent me. Same attorney that won a huge amount of money for a client who was recording police in which they stole his phone. For him to fight the simple misdemeanor charge, it initially cost me over $20,000. We thought it would be a breeze to win as I hadn't committed a crime. Next comes court. Here we meet a very unconstitutional, corrupt judge, Brooke K. Jacobson, and the DA, which he didn't want to drop the charges. Now, if I didn't know this guy named Brooke was a judge, I would have guessed he was probably just look at this creepy ass face. So jury selection happens. We asked the jury to raise their hands if they are personal friends with police officers, and over 2/3 raised their hands, with many stating they are personal friends with these very Waterloo officers. I knew then that this was unfair and they had rigged it against me. And it gets worse. One of the 6 jury members was an active city council member, John Childs. John even stated that he would be hesitant to side against the police as he has to work with them. During court, we were against 2 prosecutors instead of 1. Judge Brooke K. Jacobson was censoring the Constitution, case law, and many arguments, while letting the prosecutor say anything they please. We know that interference with official acts states physical contact or an obstruction is needed. And
Check this out. A person commits interference with official acts when the person knowingly resists or obstructs anyone known by the person to be a peace officer. Guess what? It's just a little interesting element here. When you talk about specific terms and term defining, law enforcement and being a peace officer are diametrically opposed and mutually exclusive. Peace officer is not a law enforcement officer, because when you say you're a law enforcement officer, you're basically saying, I'm going to enforce all the laws, including the unjust, immoral, and unconstitutional ones. Peace officers, they don't do that. They want peace, and they want peace based on justice.
they claim the physical part of interference happened when Lieutenant Michael Gersh shoved me in an active roadway. On the stand, Michael Gersh stated that he couldn't clear the house, which he was searching, because I was videoing outside. He lied and claimed that me being there prevented him from clearing the house. He is such a dishonorable, corrupt tyrant. Watching him be completely uncomfortable on the stand and cringing from his actions when he was shoving the old man and then shoving me around, he was prepped to lie and say anything that would cover his own ass. From the judge to the DA to the police, you have to understand that they all have each other's back. And they'll lie and manipulate the law any way they feel like to win. The Constitution means nothing to these traitors, even when...
Yeah, and it's policing for profits. You know what really sucks about having to gather money and fundraise for people who are in jail? It's kind of a catch-22. Yeah, they get out of jail, and then they can submit their appeal, and then they can try to, buy themselves some time so that they can create a case that they can possibly win. But the catch-22 of this whole thing is we're actually funding the state. Think about it. They put us into a cage unjustly because we exposed their tyranny, and now we got to pay thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars so that we can get out, so we can fight the case that was unjustly launched against us. Now they get enriched. The court system makes a whole bunch of money. This right here is nothing more, nothing less than a policing for profit scheme.
Sergeant Erie admitted on the stand that when I called him a tyrant, it triggered him, and so he arrested me. He hated being called a tyrant, yet he acted just like an oath-breaking tyrant would, and stripped me from my freedom, threw me in a cage, and waged war on my mental health and wallet. During jury deliberation, the jury asked questions about the very law.
I really like how he said that. It waged war on my mental health and his physical health and his wallet.
I was charged with, and the judge denied giving them the answer. I was found guilty. 10 days in jail, 20 suspended, and 1 year probation. Judge Brooke even sentenced me harshly and unfair because he wants to prevent others from doing what I do. Well, obviously thinking we would appeal this BS and get to a higher court that actually follows the law would be next. However, in Iowa, if you get a simple misdemeanor, it's up to the same corrupt court to decide if you even get an appeal or not. To save their own ass, they declined. All the hope we had left was to appeal to the Supreme Court of Iowa, and the chances are extremely low that they would even look at it, especially being a simple misdemeanor. Well, they couldn't care less and denied me twice.
And so let me break in here and let me just put this into perspective. When something like this happens to a Flex or to a Hendry or to a Chille or to a Press with Rancor, it's happening to all of us and may well happen to one of us one day, or one of your family members, somebody that you love. They could find themselves in a cage being abused not only by the inmates, but also by the prison guards, having done nothing wrong. And this is why it's so important to challenge this stuff and win against it, because one day it's going to be you. An injustice that happens to one man anywhere does what? It happens to all men everywhere.
Now I am stripped of my freedom and sitting in a freezing cold cell. Don't worry, there is a plan in place to sue and try again. I am calling upon all of you for help. If what you just watched was unjust, please make your voices heard. All the contact info will be in the description. If you have questions, comments, or concerns, I'm sure they would love hearing from you. Don't just watch this and go about your day, or nothing will ever change. Help fight this battle with me. Oh, and John Childs, you picked the wrong one to side against, because you're a rat coward and only cared about your political career rather than the people you swore to serve. I'll be taking your city council job away from you, John, and I will run against you. Anywhere you go, I will challenge and beat you for your cowardice. Once I'm free, prepare Waterloo. Things are about to get real, and you'll see a lot of freedom being exercised. Now it's up to you. Will you make your voices heard?
I don't even know what to say, man. It's almost like a claustrophobic feeling thinking about somebody sitting in a cage, 100% of their freedoms taken away, being economically terrorized and tormented, fearing what might happen from the inmates or the prison guards. It's a bizarre world that we live in.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the new redesigned Fifth Amendment cop card. Now the driver card is in blue and the non-driver card is in yellow. Now they're easily color coded, so driving is blue, non-driving is yellow. You have to have a pair of Fifth Amendment cop cards in your wallet at all times. If you carry your credit cards in your phone, it's the exact same size as your Visa, as your driver's license. And these cards, they're made out of the exact same material as a hotel key, your Visa card, your driver's license. They don't destroy. It won't melt in your wallet. You need to have a Fifth Amendment driver and non-driver cop card in your wallet. These are the best gift you'll ever give anybody. Thanks. My name is ChilleDeCastro, and I am Delete Law.